Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about that new A7R V. I was lucky enough to stop into a photo store while looking for some other stuff, and the guy there told me that they had one in stock. I checked it out and I was this close to getting it. Man, I'm still thinking whether or not I should pick up this camera because, I'm really struggling with holding on to the Nikon. Nikon is not a bad camera. Right now you're watching the videos in the Nikon. Pretty much all my talking head videos are filmed with the Nikon camera. You can stick it on a tripod and it works. For the most part, if the lighting isn't too good, then it will hunt a bit and I have to cover that up with B-roll. I know I explained that in another video, but yeah, it's starting to get annoying. Now granted, while I have some lights in here, if I want to film when it's a little bit darker, the lights aren't bright enough to cover up all of that, and I can't control that. So I have to do what I need to do to work with the things I need to. One of the things that kind of stopped me is as I was looking at the specs, because we walked out of the store, my wife and I was like, okay, are we really going to give up the Nikon, or are we going to get this camera? So we went outside to talk about it for a bit, got on the phone, looked up some specs and so on. One of the things that I saw was that this camera went down to like a -4 EV for autofocus, while the Nikon is a -3. So there's a plus right there in something that would make me consider giving up the Nikon. The other reason why I'm thinking about holding on to it is because the Z8 is coming out. Now granted, the Z8 information right now is all rumors. There's no development announcement like with the Z9 where I could say, oh hell yes, I'm gonna hold out and wait for this stuff. The Z9 development announcement got a lot of people's attention and we wanted to see what that thing was going to be when it came out. It performed in a lot of areas, but it still had some issues, especially when it came to the autofocus. I think it was designed mainly as a photo camera. While the video capabilities are great, it wasn't something that I could afford at the time, but I would have pressed myself to get it because I really like what it could do. But then I saw what the weight was going to be for the camera. It's going to be a year seemingly, and since I was starting to travel, I gave up on that idea. The R5 is here now, the A7R V. It's out now, it's in the market. I love that tiltable flip out screen. It's a 3.2 inch just like my Nikon. I felt comfortable seeing that. The thing that I love about the Nikon is the ergonomics. I'm always comparing other cameras to Nikon. When I hold it in my hand and how it feels, it's not the same with the Sony. Now granted, I did get the FX30 and I'm getting used to holding it. I think what makes this pretty good is that from the flange to the handle, when you're using an APS-C lens, and I don't have one here with me right now, there's more space between the handle and the lens area. And I know this is the 16-35 f4. Sony's lenses, and pretty much most lenses nowadays, have a little area down the bottom here to give a bit of space, so you can have that curled out area. So when you're holding the camera, you have some room for your fingers, which I guess is not a bad idea. But when I'm holding the Nikon, especially like with this 24-70, which is a pretty beefy sized lens, I don't have that issue. This is one of the things that concerns me about the Sony cameras. I know they kind of made that to offset that, but I think that could end up being an issue in the future. Or I don't know. I come up with ideas why not to move to the full frame Sony, but yeah, it's here right now, and the weight isn't too bad off the FX30, which I think is going to be close to the FX3. So there is that. Anyway, I am still debating whether or not I should do this. I've been looking around at prices to sell my camera and lens, and I'm trying to give it a good price. If I get a good price, maybe the next time I come here to talk about cameras, you'll hear me say that I've moved away from my Nikon and gone to Sony. But we'll see what happens there. One of the other things that also is making me think I should get it is the lens. Now, Sony's lenses, they've been making them smaller and lighter, This is the APS-C lens. This one is the 15mm 1.4G. You notice how the camera started hunting a little bit after I moved the lens away from it. This is some of the things that I've been hiding with B-roll, just to make everything look good. Now it's solidifying my decision to go ahead and get the A7R V. Focus, speed, and compensation and better subject tracking is something that I've been missing in my Z6II, especially in video. Yeah, I have some issues in photos as well, which I should correct for with the AI technology. All right, let's get back to the video. It's a nice small lens when you fit it to the FX30. The cool thing, and this is something I thought about in selling myself into the A7R V, it has a 61 megapixel sensor. 61 megapixel is great if you are photographing big prints and so on. I mean, in general, it's great to take photos where you can crop in deeply on it and still have good quality photos. Keeping that in mind, if you put it down like a medium crop, it's 26 megapixels. 26 megapixels is what this thing shoots at in APS-C mode. So whether you're shooting in full frame or APS-C mode, you can get 26 megapixels off of that sensor. Fantastic, right? Which means I wouldn't have to purchase a whole new batch of full frame lenses for that camera. I could put it in crop sensor mode and utilize the lens that I do have. Of course, I have also the 16-35, and for most of the video shooting I would do, that range covers it pretty well for me, so I think I'm covered there as well. The one thing I did think about picking up was probably like the 24-105, since part of my plan was to also exchange out the 24-70 for the 24-120 on the Nikon, as I do photograph most of the time during the daytime. Well, still trying to, sell my wife on the idea, because she's like, you got more lens. Why you get more lens? I thought you wanted to sell off the lens. You got some lighter ones. I've been looking for that 70-350 lens, which I think is a perfect lens, but it's sold out everywhere. Everywhere I've been looking, it's sold out, at least here in Asia. In Thailand, nobody has it. I thought about when I was in Singapore, but the Sony store there didn't have one either. So I think it's just a shortage thing for that particular lens. So that's something that I like for when I'm shooting birds or anything at a distance that can really double up when you're utilizing it with a crop sensor camera. Getting that along with the A7R V, that would be great also, but that's something also to think about in the future. The body weight isn't too far off. I think I mentioned that earlier on. Overall, for me, being a travel YouTuber right now, having a lighter combined weight is the best thing. The Nikon 24-70 is almost 2 pounds by itself, and the body is like 1 pound and 6 ounces. The FX3 gets lighter. Now, yeah, in talking about that, if I'm going to keep 2 cameras, I'm definitely adding some weight. But I have lenses to share among both cameras, which is great. The original plan was to get the Mega-Adapt lens adapter so that I could utilize a Sony lens on the Nikon. Now, that's still a plan. If I end up selling this camera first, then yeah, that will not be in the cards. Unless somehow the Z8 comes out and it smokes the A7R V in many ways, and I just say, okay, I gotta go back to my Nikon. Again, ergonomics being #1 thing. I could work with the Sony as it is, but it'd have to be something really big at this point on that Z8. So I think, as I'm sitting here, I think I'm convincing myself even more and more to get that A7R V. Yeah, I like it. I do like it. I have to say, I wasn't a fan of Sony cameras. I think they're too compact. I guess it's nice for some people, but I think Nikon did a really great job with the Z series of camera, especially like the Z6. I love the size of the body, but I do wish it would be like a little bit larger because, nowadays, as I'm getting old enough to use the glasses, having something with a bigger screen would be helpful. Having some more space on the side where the cables are away from the lens would also be nicer, which I'm pretty sure DSLRs, I haven't seen one in a while, but it had more space in that side, because I do remember we had the remote slot there and the flash sync slot that was up on the top there, so there was some more space. And I get that for mirrorless. I want to shrink it out a little bit and make it a little bit lighter. But I think, you know, if you're gonna go video and you need a screen, you either have to go out and buy a screen to get a better view, which just adds to the whole bulk, or if you can make the screen slightly bigger, that would help. Anyhow, what do you guys think? Are you on the fence about getting the A7R V? Have you already gotten the A7R V? Put in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are, and you know what you think about me moving all the way to Sony from Nikon. I love to hear your comments. I love to hear what everyone's thinking. And if you're also a Nikon shooter, what do you think? Are you waiting for the Z8? Or are you just gonna go ahead and get something else? All right, I'm signing off. I'll see you guys in the next one.